Hi there, everybody. Welcome to Sikich Live, our regular Thursday installment. And we're missing our normal host, Michael DeGeeter, today. I think he's been lucky enough to have some time off. So welcome to everyone. It's a pretty overcast day here in Washington State. And today I have joining me for a discussion on field service, Matt Klein.
Hi, Debbie. Hello, everybody.
So, Matt, you're an architect in our field services team. Tell me a little bit about what that means.
Okay, so I'm on the, as you said, I'm on the Enterprise Solution Architect team. And what we do is help with best practice on project implementations. So that's one key component of what we do. And we also are responsible for staying up to date on product. So with the ever-changing landscape around Microsoft products, it's a challenge, but we have to keep up with that, and that's part of our job.
So, Matt, you're an expert in field service, and I guess I could ask you what field service is. I think it's pretty obvious. It means I've just had the HVAC guy here. In fact, he just left, and I'm assuming he's doing field service. He's coming out and helping me fix my HVAC at $170 later. Off he goes. So, yep. You know, I imagine there's field service in all sorts of realms, right? Everything from your garage door opener not opening to
right.
Equipment on an oil rig. So tell me a little bit about the kind of field service environments you've had exposure to or you work with.
Yeah, so field service sometimes is probably miscategorized as an industry in and of itself, but it's not. It's actually more about workloads that span a lot of different industries. So you mentioned an oil rig. Oil and gas is, of course, one of many. Energy, utilities, equipment manufacturing, which is something that Sikich pays a lot of attention to. Professional services, specialty contractors like the HVAC service that you just got. So those are all examples of field service, and basically anything that has something that needs to be fixed or maintained or inspected or monitored, whether remote or on-site, that really constitutes a field service scenario.
So in the old days, you know, what you did is you found a number in a phone book, I guess, or on a sticker on the back of your thing, and you rang a number and you said, it's broken. Can you send someone out to fix it, right? So I'm imagining that obviously that is significantly different these days, and it's a little bit different given that I'm a consumer, and I know that at Sikich we focus on the industrials, right? So industrial equipment breaking down, so it's a business having something that they've got a problem with. So a couple of questions. That's changed significantly, right? We've gone from the phone book to all the way to IoT and virtual reality and all this. Give me an idea of some of the journeys that companies go on to decide they actually need software, because at the end of the day, the topic today is a business application to support your field service. So can you tell me a little bit about the journey a company goes on and says, right, I need a field service system? What are the attributes that would mean to a company they need to go out and get a system?
Yeah, so first you brought up calling for service. That still happens. You probably called for your service. But there are lots of different ways now that happens. And I think the efficiencies that can be gained from these different ways, it's been realized by some of these companies, even small companies now. So initially, when we started to see field service projects come up, it was more about an understanding that, you know, a larger company with some investment dollars wanted to gain a competitive edge by making their field operations more efficient, maybe gathering some analytics that they could use to predict failure and that sort of thing. But it's now spread to smaller companies. And I shouldn't say now, it's been this way for years now, for the past few years. Smaller companies are realizing that, number one, they can be part of this sort of new world of automation and optimization, and even taking advantage of artificial intelligence and augmented reality and mixed reality, like you mentioned. So as far as how a company decides whether or not they want to embark on a field service journey, I think they need to evaluate their competition and see that quite a few other companies, if not most, if not all of their competitors, are starting to do this. And I think that's kind of opening their eyes to seeing that is something that they should probably do too.
Right. Well, I mean, and it's a revenue stream too, right? So it's a way for a manufacturer, particularly in the equipment space, for a manufacturer to get extra revenue. Tell me about, like my HVAC broke down. I was having cold air blow on me. I'm interested to hear about how people who use field service systems can move into more of a proactive game with their field service, and they're not automatically called when everything breaks. They actually are able to get out there and do preventative maintenance. Is the system cover that?
Yes, definitely. So one of the key components of the systems that we work with for field service has what are referred to as service agreements, or to manage your work orders and service orders. So preventative maintenance could be set up on a schedule, including the invoicing of that preventative maintenance. And that will automatically schedule work orders and put those in the queue for scheduling and dispatch operations to review, find the right people with the right skills and characteristics, and get them assigned at the right time to do those services. So the system fully supports that, as well as quoting for that service. And so that allows companies to kind of put it on autopilot and support that function.
So how about we would move into the 21st century, and my HVAC is suffering from things that say it's going to break down any minute. There's going to be something going wrong, and I'm interested in understanding. This is Internet of Things, right? This is the ability for my HVAC to transmit via Wi-Fi something to someone to say, hey, it's overheating, or it's not turning off, or it's not turning on. Tell me a little bit about how we get that as part of this overall field service solution.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is a really exciting technology, and it's not new for sure. It's starting to become more common, but that is IoT, or leveraging IoT. That's the Internet of Things. I'm sure lots of people have heard of that. A lot of equipment coming out now, whether it's industrial or customer facing, has some sort of IoT type of device in it. It's connected to the internet, and that's really what that means. It's connected to the internet in some way, and that allows you to both read information from that device as well as speak to it. So you can actually make some devices do certain things. So for example, if you have a component that's overheating, that could raise an alarm remotely, trigger either some service to be called out to deliver in the field, or if the device is enabled, actually allow somebody to trigger a restart potentially, or shut down temporarily to keep that unit from overheating, and save quite a bit of cost on taking a trip out to the field with all of the travel and the time that it would take to bring a field technician out there.
So it's not only about, the organization who is servicing the equipment doing a better job or earning money. It's also reducing risk for the people who are using the equipment. So, that makes a lot of sense. So Matt, this is a tech project, and, people might say, all right, what do I want to do? I'm digitally transforming. I want to put all my manual processes into some sort of system and move towards all of this Internet of Things and all the rest. But projects around technology tend to have a bad rap. Over budget, over underspec, or disappointment all around. Tell me a little bit about your experience with field services projects. Do you think there is much risk there in terms of the investment giving the return companies are looking for?
Yeah, I think in the past that may have been true, but that's really kind of the distant past. I mean, beyond 5 years for sure. ERPs, the trend around ERPs by themselves, and by that I mean enterprise, large business systems. It's no longer this need to implement some giant monolithic thing. You can put things in components, and that's very true of field service especially. You can start with a very small footprint. And because of the subscription model of products like Dynamics 365 Field Service, you can plug it in straight out of the box, do some minimal configuration, and that will allow a company to function in an automated fashion without completely taking every dollar from their annual budget. And it's not a dead end. So once you put a small system in place, you can grow that very well over time. And not only do you buy into that sort of entry-level solution, you're starting to gather information that over time could support some really important analytics. A key component of information systems, of course, is the information. And if you use that information effectively, it really increases the value of the system, of course. So taking information out of a field service solution, piping it into, say, a machine learning sort of tool to help you with actually producing some AI, getting some answers and insights out of that information, makes it very valuable to start as soon as you can. The longer you wait, the more data you're losing in populating that and supplying that.
So you mentioned Dynamics 365 Field Service, and I notice our Sikich live event is called CRM for Field Service. So what's that about?
So that's
CRM for Field Service.
Yeah, that's probably because Field Service is built on top of what used to be called the CRM platform. So that's no longer the case. It's CE, or customer engagement, and it's not even that anymore. It's really the CDS, or the Common Data Service Platform. And that's, by the way, a key component of the overall solution that makes it extremely valuable. The CDS, I'm just going to keep calling that. I hope that's okay for everybody. That is really the backbone of not just field service, but a lot of systems, and allows them to talk and interact with each other in very meaningful ways. So workflow automation across totally different products. They're completely integrated, and you could trigger, well, for an example, an alert triggered from an IoT device can trigger some activity within field service and actually automatically generate a work order to serve that, to do something about that anomaly that was detected in the field.
So we're really hitting the 21st century finally. Matt, where does your experience with field service hark from? Have you
Yeah,
give us a little bit of background?
Yeah, I'm trying to recover from that trauma of. So I started my career as a civil engineer way back in 1990, I think it was, and I did a lot of field work, and it was all manual. It was go out in the field, collect information, take it back to the office, download it, process it using, actually it was Lotus at the time, if you can believe that, process it and do stuff with it. There was nothing even close to strong data analytics tools. There was nothing remotely close to remote access and sharing of information. So it was painful and very tedious and expensive.
Right, and your experience, there are companies out there still doing it that way?
Thankfully, not that many, but there are still some. Yeah,
right.
There's some that have just a small group of technicians, and they don't think that they need efficiency, and they may be right. I wouldn't personally agree with that. Because even if you have 2 technicians or even 1, you can get some value out of a system without a whole lot of investment and cost, like we were talking about before.
Right. So field service is something that I imagine a lot of organizations that have equipment or things they've sold in the field, and they have to have a field service system. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about whether or not that's changed over the last, 9 months? I don't know, how many months is it? So many months.
All a blur, isn't it?
Yeah, has COVID made any impact on that, do you think?
It's been really interesting, because you would think a couple of things about COVID. One would be, companies are circling the wagon, so to speak, and no longer investing and just afraid to spend any dollars. That's true. There's been some of that. We've seen some customers that have put their projects on pause, just to make sure that they could weather this storm. But surprisingly, a lot of companies seem to be interested in learning more about these sorts of tools that can help them with process efficiency, may be seeing that this is exactly why they need process efficiency, because when things like this happen, they need to be prepared for that. And another key component that seems to have been spiked with COVID is the use of augmented or mixed reality. So with so many more people being remote, obviously there's been a huge amount of attention paid to conferencing systems like Zoom and Teams, which are very capable pieces of software. But if there's a technician out in the field, or a customer even, that doesn't know a piece of equipment, or is maybe junior at understanding a piece of equipment, you need some way for that person to be effective. So if a customer, for example, has, we'll just keep it simple, a printer that they don't know how to operate, they need help, they're trying to explain it to a support person. That person has no idea what they're saying because the person that's talking to them may not be able to communicate exactly in the right way that they need to. The mixed reality actually allows for that scenario to be handled by letting the person on the remote end use a device to essentially scan their environment, and they can project that or transmit that back to the office. That person there can see everything they see in real time. And what makes it much more valuable is the use of, with mixed reality, being able to do annotations. So for example, if you're trying to point out that little thing right there in the back of the printer, you can draw a little arrow in 3D space and it will show up on the person's screen on the remote end. So they can see exactly what you're talking about. That obviously is very valuable information. And it's not just limited to annotations. You can bring up screens. So for example, if you're working within an application, you can see screens positioned over that real environment. So
this isn't actually, when I talk about 21st century, I mean we're well into the 21st century. This is everyday stuff now that we're working with in Dynamics 365 field service.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and it still amazes me, maybe not too much, but I'm a little surprised to see customers who say, "Oh, wow, that's really neat. I didn't know that you could do that." Well, it's no longer future tech. It's now
Right.
tech, not past tech.
Right.
IoT is a perfect example. I mean, IoT actually now is everywhere,
Right.
absolutely everywhere. It's just sort of now finding its way into the workloads that field service has. So as people start to come to that realization and they're able to see these really neat tools, I think they're going to start to warm up to the idea that, yeah, maybe my technician can go out in the field with a HoloLens and he might look a little bit funny, but the value of that's way outweighs any sort of negatives of that.
Matt, and I think also with Microsoft and their massive investment in business applications, I mean, this is just going to keep on developing, expanding. You talked about, artificial intelligence and machine learning. So it really checks all the boxes, all of that new technology, which is really not new anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I think, Matt, I think we've hit our time. So, so I'd like to thank you very much. This was really interesting. It's great to be able to share it. I know that you'd be really excited to talk to anyone. If anyone's got any questions,
Absolutely.
Reach out, contact us at Sikich, check out our website, see if there's any additional information up there, and give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. All right, then. Thank you very much for your time today. See you later, Michael. Should be back next week. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.